How I Made Racist Prison Guards Respect Me. Nelson Mandela. My name is Nelson Mandela, and today I want to share with you one of the most challenging yet transformative periods of my life, my 27 years in prison, and specifically, how I managed to earn the respect of guards who initially saw me as nothing more than a dangerous terrorist, a threat to their way of life, someone unworthy of basic human dignity. When I first walked through those prison gates on Robben Island in 1964, I was facing a life sentence for conspiracy against the state. The guards looked at me with a mixture of hatred, fear, and contempt. I wasn't the person who had dedicated his life to fighting for justice and equality. I was simply prisoner number 466, a black man who had dared to challenge the system that kept them in positions of power and privilege. But from the very first day, I made a decision that would define not just my time in prison. I decided that I would demand respect, not through violence or confrontation, but through dignity, consistency, and an unwavering commitment to my principles. You see, the battle for dignity begins on the first day you enter any challenging situation, whether it's a prison cell, a hostile workplace, or any environment where others seek to diminish your humanity. I told those guards from day one that I would only respond to the name Mandela or Mr. Mandela. We imposed ourselves and insisted on being respected, even though we were prisoners. The guards certainly saw it as insubordination. But I understood something fundamental about human psychology. People can only treat you the way you allow them to treat you. When guards would bark orders or try to humiliate us, I would respond with courtesy but firmness. I would look them in the eye, not with defiance, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows his own worth. I learned their names, asked about their families, showed genuine interest in their lives as human beings. This confused them initially. They expected anger, hatred, the very emotions that would have justified their treatment of us. There was one particular incident that perfectly illustrates how I approached these relationships. I remember calling an office where a lady answered the phone, and when I politely asked for her name, she responded with shock and indignation. "Who are you to ask my name?" she demanded. I simply replied, "As soon as you kindly tell me your name, I'll tell you mine." She eventually hung up on me. But years later, I knew she would discover that I had achieved far more than she ever imagined possible for someone like me. The key to earning respect in that hostile environment was understanding that humility is one of the most important qualities you must possess. When you're humble, when you make people realize that you're not a threat to them personally, they will embrace you. They will listen to you. This doesn't mean being weak or submissive. It means being secure enough in yourself that you do not need to prove your worth through aggression or arrogance. I discovered that many of them were simply ordinary people caught up in an extraordinary and unjust system. By acknowledging their humanity, I was quietly insisting on my own. This approach gradually broke down the barriers that hatred and prejudice had built between us. You cannot have an impact on society if you haven't changed yourself first. The guards began to see that I wasn't the monster the system had told them I was. There were times when my emotions urged me to respond with anger and hostility. After all, these men represented a system that had stripped me of my freedom, separated me from my family, and oppressed my people for generations. Every fiber of my being wanted to hate them. But I learned that you must make your brain dominate your blood. Emotions said that the white minority were enemies and we should never speak to them. But our brain said, if you don't speak to these people, your country will burn. We had to reconcile this conflict, and our conversations with former enemies were the result of the brain's dominance over emotions. I spent countless hours in my cell reflecting on what kind of person I wanted to be and what kind of world I wanted to help create. I realized that if I allowed hatred to consume me, I would become exactly what my oppressors claimed I was, a man driven by vengeance rather than justice. Instead, I chose to see each day as an opportunity to prove them wrong, to demonstrate that it was possible to maintain dignity and humanity even in the most dehumanizing circumstances. The transformation didn't happen overnight. There were guards who remained hostile for years, who saw any sign of respect toward me as a betrayal of their beliefs. They started asking for my advice on personal matters, sharing stories about their families, even bringing me small gifts or extra food. These weren't calculated moves on their part. They were genuine human connections that transcended the artificial barriers of race and ideology that our society had constructed. What I learned during those 27 years is that respect is not something you can demand through force or manipulation. It must be earned through consistency, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to your principles. When people see that you remain true to yourself regardless of circumstances, when they witness your ability to maintain dignity under pressure, when they observe that you treat others with kindness even when they don't deserve it, they cannot help but begin to respect you. I also discovered that taking a stand for your principles doesn't always require dramatic gestures or grand speeches. Sometimes the most powerful stand you can take is simply refusing to let others diminish your humanity. By insisting on being called by my name, by treating guards with courtesy even when they were cruel, by maintaining my intellectual curiosity and engaging in thoughtful discussions, I was quietly but firmly asserting that I was a human being worthy of respect. The practical implications of this approach extended far beyond my personal relationships with individual guards. When you have a time limit to be on Earth, you must try to use that period with the aim of transforming your country into what you want it to be. Every interaction I had in prison was part of a larger strategy to demonstrate that it was possible for people of different races to coexist with mutual respect and understanding. There were moments when I questioned whether this approach was naive or ineffective, when fellow prisoners were beaten or humiliated, when letters from my family were withheld, when I was denied basic privileges that other prisoners received. The temptation to abandon my principles was strong, but I held fast to the belief that how you conduct yourself in your darkest moments reveals your true character. I want to emphasize that earning respect doesn't mean compromising your core beliefs or accepting injustice. Throughout my imprisonment, I never wavered in my commitment to ending apartheid and achieving equality for all South Africans. I never pretended that the system was acceptable or that my imprisonment was justified. But I chose to fight that system through example rather than through hatred, through demonstrated humanity rather than through dehumanizing my oppressors. The guards who came to respect me did so not because I agreed with their political views or accepted their authority over me, but because they recognized something in me that they admired, a strength that came not from bitterness or anger, but from an unshakable sense of self-worth and purpose. They saw that I could maintain my dignity regardless of my circumstances, and that impressed them more than any act of defiance could have. As I prepare to conclude, I want you to understand that the lessons I learned in prison about earning respect are applicable to every aspect of life. Whether you're facing discrimination in your workplace, dealing with difficult family relationships, or confronting any situation where others attempt to diminish you, remember that your response to their behavior says more about you than their actions say about them, your motivations and your goals. Treat others with the respect you wish to receive, even when they don't reciprocate immediately. Stand firm in your principles while remaining open to seeing the humanity in those who oppose you. The racist guards who initially saw me as their enemy eventually became some of my strongest advocates for humane treatment within the prison system. This transformation didn't happen because I defeated them or proved them wrong through argument. This is the power of dignified resistance, of principled leadership, and of never allowing circumstances to define your character. In my next video, I will share with you the 10 specific rules for success that guided me through those dark years and ultimately helped transform not just my own life, but the destiny of an entire nation. These principles can help you overcome any obstacle, earn respect in any situation, and create positive change in your own life and community. Until then, remember that respect is not given. It is earned through consistency, dignity, and an unwavering commitment to your highest values.